My name's Gareth Thomas. I'm the chair of the all-party group in the House of Commons for Jains, and I'm the Member of Parliament for Harrow West. On the 21st of March, it's National Census Day, and I want to encourage you to think in particular about question 16 of the census, because that's the chance to get Jainism in the UK properly recognised and properly understood. Question 16 is going to give you the choice of selecting which religion you want to be determined as. It's a voluntary question, you don't have to answer it, but if you're proud of your Jainism, make sure you choose other first and then select Jain. Choose other, select Jain. Question 16, National Census Day. Let's get Jainism properly recognised and understood in the UK. Thanks very much. Please take part.
Jai Jinendra everyone, welcome to this evening and hope you're all well and enjoyed the beautiful weather today. So before we start this evening, can I request Parul Ben to start the evening as we do usually with Naukar Mantra? Parul Ben, over to you.
Okay. Jai Jinendra everyone. Namo Arahantaram, Namo Namo, Namo Sitaram, Namo Namo, Namo Ayariyaram, Namo Namo, Namo Ujayaram, Namo Namo, Namo Loye Savasahuram, Namo Loye Savasahuram, Eso Panchanamo Karo, Savapava Parashara, Mangalarancha Savesim, Patamang Havai Mangalam, Patamang Havai Mangalam.
Thank you very much Parul Ben for that. That was a beautiful start to the evening. So welcome everyone to the adult class lecture series. This term we are studying a text called Amarvani by Gurudev Shri Amar Muni Ji. Last couple of weeks ago, Binaben Shah, a SCVP Nairobi teacher from Nairobi, she beautifully introduced the text to us. So today we have got Ketan Bhai, one of our SCVP London teachers, who will be delving deeper into this book. To many of you who attend regularly, Ketan Bhai and his style of teaching needs no introduction. And for those who are new to us and haven't heard Ketan Bhai before, sit back and relax. No, actually don't relax, but get your thinking caps on for a very thought-provoking evening ahead. So, if I can hand over to Ketan Bhai to commence the evening.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bharti Ben. You know me too well, I think. So, Jai Jinendra, everybody, and we're going to look at Amarvani as we know. Bina Ben Shah from Nairobi gave us introduction to this a couple of weeks ago. So I'll give you a couple of little starters before we actually get into the text to just kind of set the frame around it. Bina Ben's done that already to an extent, but I just wanted to add a little bit more. So first of all, this book was written by Gurudev Amar Muni Ji in 1973, and its translation in English is the one you will see in the chat function. So I'll put it on the chat function. It's been on WhatsApp. I really suggest you actually open it, if not now, later on, and actually read it yourself. But the English translation, from what I've read, is absolutely superb, very clear, very direct. And as Sandeep Bhai said a couple of weeks ago, it feels like you're reading something like a Stephen Covey style book, because he exemplifies every point very clearly. It's very practical, and it's based on his experience and wisdom. So for people who may not know, and I'm sure most of you do, you will all know that Gurudeva Amar Muniji had a very logical, precise mind, very truth-seeking temperament, had incredible resolve in terms of adversity, and real dedication in his path. And we all will know that he started a new epoch by giving the title of Acharya to Acharya Channaji, making her the first female Acharya of these times. He was very opposed to dogmatism and was a real advocate of adaptability. And he also studied a lot of the other religions quite carefully. And that really reminds me of Gandhiji, who did something very similar. He absolutely studied all the other religions as part of his own spiritual development. So I was trying to get an understanding of Amar Muniji from people who've obviously met him. I haven't met him and spent time with him. And Upadhyay Yashaji Maharaj has spent many years with Gurudev. And I spoke to her and I said, look, could you say to me in 3 sentences what Amar Muniji meant to you, and why? Could you describe him in 3 sentences? And I really got this from her, which I thought was absolutely just nailed what I picked up from the book. Well, first of all, his knowledge is so profound that it's still alive today. It's Shashwat. When you read it, you think what he's saying is true now. It will always be true. It will remain true in 30 years' time. And that is an incredible thing when you read a book, and it's still alive. It still makes sense. The other thing she said is what he has written is not borrowed. He hasn't picked up things from other books and put together a compilation. It's really based on his penance, his learning, his experience and conduct. It's very direct from himself only. And that is an amazing thing. When you see that in a book, it really awakens you. The third thing she said, which again comes through very clearly, is when he's writing, he has no self-interest whatsoever. He's not really concerned on whether you like him or whether you'll think of him. His writing is all about for us. It's only for us, for nobody else but for us. And the other thing you feel, and I really felt it when I've been doing this, is that some of the things is he's talking to you directly. He's putting his arms around your shoulders and going, look, I'm maybe whether you like it or not, this is the truth. And you're going to have to accept it and move forward in your life. So what are we going to cover today is very much the first two sections. And he starts off by talking about what is the problem that we all are trying to solve in today's world? What are the issues with the social order? And why have we got so much focus on individualism? And these are your learning objectives. As Bharti Ben said, you will need to keep alert because I am going to put you into breakout rooms. I'm going to get you into small groups and have a discussion. So if you are sleeping, wake up because you'll need to be alert. So first of all, reflect on what he's saying and about practice. The second question I'll ask you to think about, or your objective, is to think about one change you might want to make in your own life. As I said, to experience with this session, your own experience is very important and your own reflection, and we'll have 2 exercises. So this is what he starts off with. I'm just going to read a little bit from the book. If anyone's got the book, it's page 3, but not it's page 3 as in kind of written on the book, page 3, rather than page 3 on the PDF. So that section starts called The Basic Problem, if anybody wants to follow it. So he starts, the basic problem before man is how to make this transient life true, good, and beautiful. Man has been striving after discovering real peace since times immemorial, but unfortunately, efforts have not been made to discover this peace, where it can really be found. We have found illusions of peace, not real peace. The real living peace is to be discovered within the soul of the man and not in the world outside. Real peace emerges when man succeeds in curtailing his desires and controlling his passions. When the intense desire for human service awakens in the heart of man, and when the self of man merges itself in the life of humanity. Then and only then, man can bring the blessings of heaven on the earth. And so as you go through the book, he talks about these three things: truth, or true, good, and beautiful. And from my understanding of what I've read so far, this book, just for people who want to know, is being studied by SCVP Nairobi. They're kind of almost 2/3 of the way through it, and I've been studying it with them. I really sense in this book what Amamuniji says is, look, I'm going to actually show you the reality of this world. It's transient, its problems and opportunities, and how to confront these. And you really feel a strong shoulder on your, strong arm on your shoulders saying to you, look, you don't run away. I'll help you, but don't run away from these things that confront you and the reality of the world. The second thing in terms of good, you really feel equates that goodness not with other things that we might think are good, like happiness or lack of sorrow, but this intense desire for human service. The goodness within us is really awakened when we feel this intense desire for wanting to help others, of course, in a considerate, practical way. And the last thing is this thing around what does beautiful mean? And what comes through is this real beauty within, that sits within us, which is boundless and much, much stronger and everlasting than the beauty outside. By the way, if anybody has any questions, just unmute and please ask. If you disagree, that's completely fine. Just unmute and let us know why you think differently, because then we have a good conversation. So I'm going to skip forward to the bottom of page 4, where he talks about the madness of man. And again, I think it's just so profound. He says, man has gone crazy in the glamour of modern civilization. He builds palatial buildings with high minarets and domes. He fits up in them gates and windows, but in utter ignorance, he keeps them all closed. Then man, like a lunatic, runs about from one room to another within the closed house, crying that the rays of sun do not light his house. He finds in his house darkness, dampness, and foul smell. One may well ask this foolish man as to who is responsible for this predicament. The sun shines in the sky and the breeze continues to blow as usual. But how can the rays of the sun or the fresh breeze of the morning enter his house when he keeps all his doors and windows closed? Let him open the doors and windows, and then the light, and then the sun. Fresh breeze of the morning will reach his house. Then there'll be no more darkness, dampness, or foul smell. This is exactly what happens with man in the spiritual sense. Man keeps closed all the sources of spiritual light within his soul. He keeps himself bound in the fetters of materialism and selfishness. This generates in his heart darkness, dampness, and foul smell. And the strange thing is that he complains against those very bonds and snares which he himself has woven around him and which have thrown him in that spiritual darkness. This is indeed a hard situation. And I really found, again, this just incredible that sometimes what we say is that once I have all those things, when I have a nice house, when I have certain things that I want, then I protect them and I look after them. And only then, after that, I will start thinking about spirituality. But actually, it's the same things, the materialism and selfishness, which is creating the bond in the first place. So there's no either or. There's no kind of, I'll have this and then I'll do the spirituality bit as well. It's all one and the same. So every time we are thinking about those things that are material and those things are very selfish, this itself is just creating that bond, which later on we are trying to shake. And again, a very, very useful point, interesting point he's making. Okay, the next thing before we go to the exercise is just where he talks about caste, creed, and economic superiority. He says the barriers of caste, creed, and economic superiority are eating into the vitals of human culture and civilization. Our culture and civilization cannot grow and prosper until and unless these barriers of differences between man and women, man and men are removed. Therefore, it is the duty of every single man and woman to think every morning and evening what he or she can do to eliminate these barriers of differences. Let every man say to himself, there is no essential difference between man and man. Every man has an equal right to his independent progress and promotion. The basic tenet of every social order is to live and let live. And again, if you just look at today's world, if you look at the vaccine for COVID, how much is it controlled by some very rich countries rather than being given out to all those people who absolutely need it? Because our duty is to help the whole of civilization, not just our country. And before we do the exercise, I thought I'd share this because I felt he was telling me, talking to me directly here. And he says in this bit around philosophy. Let me just find it. I lost it. So he says, a word to the philosophers. I invite the philosophers of the world to read the book of life. Let them read the life of common men. There they will find hunger, poverty, and want, before proceeding to solve the intricate mysteries of God and the universe. Let us solve these basic problems of the common man. Nothing real can be gained by hair-splitting analysis of metaphysical problems and propositions. If we ignore the basic problems of life, let us begin with life and not with metaphysics. So again, a real profound thing, which is let's go and help those people who really need our help. Let's go and help humanity before we spend hours and hours and hours discussing deep philosophical problems, because that really is what religion should start with rather than end with. So we're going to do this exercise. If anyone, before we start the exercise, if anyone's got any questions or any thoughts, please do comment. Otherwise, I'll assume that it all makes sense. Anybody got anything to say? No? Okay. Right, so Amar Muniji says, it is our duty to eliminate the barriers of race, creed, and superiority. By caste, I guess he's meaning race there. What barriers might we be creating for others, consciously or unconsciously, that inadvertently stops their flourishing? So I want you to think about this. That what do we put, what obstacles do we put for others, onto others, that stops them developing or stops them flourishing? And we may not do this deliberately, but maybe it's part of the system, it's part of the process, it's part of something that's our habit. So I want you to think about that. So what I'd like you to do is I'll put this question up on chat in a second. Let me just let me put this on chat, and I'm going to put you all into breakout groups of around 3 to 4 people. And I'm going to give you 5 minutes to think about this question, okay? So good luck. Any questions, any thoughts before we do that? Okay, the rooms are opening. You'll get a message saying enter the breakout room. Just say yes, and then you'll find yourself leaving and joining a breakout room. The question we have is on chat. Is anyone having any problems joining a breakout room? Let me know.
It looks like some people are in the main room, right?
Yeah, they. If anybody's in this room, if you can let me know if you're having a technical problem. But sometimes I know it takes about a minute or so to join the breakout as well, Nileshbhai. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Great. So hopefully we have two questions here. So hopefully the first one is straightforward. Maybe it isn't. Who knows? So first of all, do we feel it's our duty to eliminate the barriers of race, creed, and superiority, or is that somebody else's problem? We live a good life. We take care of ourselves and our family. We don't do bad things, but somebody else can sort out the difficult problems that we have out there, maybe around racism or around, the fact that maybe, power is concentrated within a few people. What do people think? Do you think it's something for us to do, or leave it to others?
I think it's everybody's duty to participate and make sure that everybody has an equal footing.
Great. Bhanumati Ben, thank you for sharing that. Why do you think Amumrij is saying that we can't be passive, we have to be active? Why do you think he's saying that? Anybody else?
I think it's one thing just talking about things, but that's not going to change anything. And if we want to bring a change in this to things, then we have to do something. So it is really important that we don't just talk about it, but we do something about it.
Correct. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rita.
Good example is
yes.
Sorry, a very good example is Acharya Shri created a school so in Rajkot, and she has created a school because what was happening was that those children were going to the normal school and the other children were not going, and there was a lot of prejudice, and she has created a special school just for those children so that they can go to that school without fear, without being looked down upon, and therefore affecting their progress in the community. And she regularly goes to visit there. I mean, for her, it's very special. So, I think there are so many examples of people trying to transcend barriers. And I think some of these prejudices of caste, which are very prevalent in India, but they're also very subtly prevalent in all countries, blacks against whites and Hindus against Muslims and all kinds of prejudices that we experience. And I think that is
I think what Sandepai said in this school, which is what is called Harikesia School. We went there in the first year when the school was just opened up. And so there's a school next to it, which is for all the other children. And it was really interesting to see that there was no mixing. So even when the other children saw that we were going to Harikesia School, they would say, how come you're going there? You shouldn't be going there. And then we went 3 years afterwards, and a huge difference. There was mingling happening between the two schools. So the Acharya Shuji's that vision that we started separately, but let change happen so that we can then make it one. But you can see that change actually in 3 years' time. Yeah.
Wonderful, brilliant. And if anybody's read Gandhiji's works, you see a strong similarity here where Gandhiji went and acted on things where he found that prejudice. He actually went and did things in a very positive way. And there are many examples of things that he did, including in his time, untouchables weren't even allowed to go to a temple, a normal Hindu temple. And he spent a lot of time campaigning just for that very simple thing, for Hindus to go to a Hindu temple. So the second question is, what barriers might we be creating for others, consciously or unconsciously, that stops them flourishing? So we can talk about the fact that, there is racism in society, and, some laws are not good, or politicians are doing the wrong thing. but what things might we be doing ourselves that create those barriers, right? Either at work, in a social life, in what we say, what we do. Did anyone come up with any thoughts here?
I think in our group, we talked about stereotyping people based on, old beliefs and old views, what we had been taught, even as children, or what we see in societal norm, rather than thinking how we can move away from that. And subconsciously or consciously, we do use those and make the judgment and decisions on day-to-day life, which might give them a barrier to the people who, which would disadvantage them.
Great, thank you. It's a good point. Anybody else?
I just wanted to say, do you think religion sometimes creates barrier?
Yeah, give us an example.
Like different religion will think my religion is the best and mine is the right one. And that can create problems.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes we can, with our love of Jain Dharam so strong, we can use language that says other religions, our religion is better, other religions are worse. Look at them, they do this in a wrong way, we do this in a better way. And that itself is creating a barrier, because Amar Murij is very much interested in every individual, every man, every woman. He's not seeing the religion associated with that person. He sees the human being, he sees the soul. But as soon as we create that barrier in our mind, then we start treating other people differently because they're not of the same faith. Or we might treat them nicely, but we might treat them in a slightly different way to the ones that are from our own faith. And those are all subtle things, right? That also create a barrier. Anybody else?
We talked about fear, mother's fear for her children, mother's fear for her family, and how she tries to protect them by not letting them do certain things, like going on a trip from school or going rafting or things like that. Yeah, so that fear is a barrier.
And where's that fear coming from?
I think it's the fear of your protection. So basically you fear for your family and you want to protect them.
Yeah, but sometimes that protection becomes so powerful, it becomes stifling, right?
Yeah.
And to be honest, it comes from attachment. It comes from over attachment.
Yes.
Of something, be it your religion, be it your family, be it your street, be it where you live, and this automatically then creates barriers towards other people. Anybody else before we move on?
I think it's the way we see people. And in our group, we talked about one example of how we see someone and we associate that someone with some certain type of a job. But also this sort of, I have had experience of my prejudices and against a little child who was quite filthy and dirty, and I felt, oh, how can I hug him, because he's so filthy and he's so dirty, and sort of, you stop that love from giving that love to someone because of those sort of prejudices or thinking, and then that really stops someone from developing.
Exactly. And before we move on, remember, you might think, well, if I've kind of ignored somebody or not given somebody a chance, it's fine. They'll get a chance from somewhere else. It's not the end of the world. But remember, these little drops, drop by drop by drop by drop by drop, on people who are underprivileged, that all builds up all those little drops builds up and can create huge problems for them. So we see this in so many ways with untouchability in India, with Black Lives Matter, with the way women were treated 100 years ago. So all of these little drops all add up to create big barriers. So as Rita Ben said, even just being aware of it is a first step, because then once you're aware, then automatically you'll start moving away from it. Okay, I'm going to go back. Thank you to everybody for sharing. It's very useful. So let me just put my screen up. So I'm now on page 8, at the bottom of page 8. Actually, just before I go there, I just wanted to kind of end this topic by a lovely thing that he says, which is at the top of page 7, where he kind of talks about success. And we all want to be successful. We all want to flourish. We all want to do well in life, and that's fine. But he says a victory which is not prompted by or by and accomplished through love, compassion, and sacrifice is no victory. It is mere barbarity. Real victory purifies and elevates both the victor and the vanquished. And I really like this because, of course, if we are moving forward in life, there's competition and so on, but that shouldn't be our thinking. Our thinking should very much be that we want everybody to move forward in life, not just ourselves. And even if it is a victory, even if you win at something, it isn't because the other person's lost. It just happens that you were lucky, or you were the right person at the right time, and so on. Okay, so I'm going to go to the bottom of page 8. And again, when I read this, it was very profound. So he says, there is a danger all around for a small drop of water. The dry earth seeks to absorb it. The gust of wind tries to waft it away. The scorching rays of the sun are out to evaporate it, and the thirsty bird is eager to swallow it. In brief, there is death all around it. If the drop of water has to preserve its identity, it must merge its small entity with the ocean. It must change itself from its small size of the drop to the large size of the ocean. The ocean has no fear, no danger. Storms may blow. Millions of animals and birds may drink water in it. The burning rays of the sun may scorch it. And lightning and thunder may seek to thwart it. But the ocean has no fear from any of them. This is because the ocean is large. It is immense. There is no fear to its existence. The analogy is applicable to human life too. I and mine are small entities like the small drop of water. I and mine must therefore change to we and our. In that condition alone, man can preserve his entity. It is then that man can transcend the bounds of time and space, become eternal and immortal. And the thing that in a book we did earlier, which is Ahimsa Darshan, which is also by Gurudev Amamuniji, he talks about finding a balance between individualism and your place in society and merging with society. And in that book, he talks about making sure that there's a careful balance between the two. And he says that you must start with society before you think about individualism, but he accepts that both of those are needed. What I really like in this is that he says that actually, if you want to be an individual, if you want your character to shine, you want to grow, then you need to be part of something bigger, because on your own, you're full of danger. And the ocean has no fear of danger. So if you're part of something greater, something bigger, not only will you help others, but also you will preserve your identity and allow it to flourish. And I thought that was such a wonderful analogy and so wonderfully expressed by Gurudev. So exercise 2, as he says, if the drop of water has to preserve its identity, it must merge its small entity with ocean. What does this actually mean to you? And how do we actually apply this in a spiritual way? Okay, what practical things does this mean when it says preserve the identity but still merge with the ocean? Okay, so I'm going to put you in more breakout groups. Let me just stop screen sharing. You're going to be with different people this time, so hopefully you get a chance to speak to new people. Okay, you have 5 minutes, and I'll put the questions up on the chat. Okay, you'll get a message again to join the breakout rooms. So just join it. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I think hopefully most people are back. So anybody got any thoughts on this point? If the drop of water has to preserve its identity, it must merge its small entity with the ocean. What do people think about that statement by Gurudev? Don't be shy or I'll have to pick on you.
I think it is same as what you discussed earlier on, that you, on your own you can't achieve a lot, so you have to merge with somebody else to do bigger things and to progress in your life or whatever.
Mm. But what's the kind of message we normally get in the West?
Individuality and me, myself,
Right.
competition, etc. Whereas collectively, what he's saying is collectively, you will be much more stronger than if you were an individual.
Great. Thank you, Rasulaban. Exactly. So we have so much emphasis, don't we, on what we get in the exam rather than what we've collectively achieved in delivering something. So let me pick some rooms then. Room 6, we have Alka Ben, Bharti Ben, and Yash Purnima Ben. What did you come up with?
We said more or less the same thing. Many hands make light work, and you can achieve more.
Right. Okay. Room 8, we had Hamel Bai, Urvi Ben, Sonia Ben. What did you say? What did you think?
My view was kind of like the other way, where you're looking at a drop of water, but you're actually trying to see, well, sometimes as an individual, if you don't tend to follow a crowd, you're kind of like left outside. You're not kind of being inclusive. And sometimes what we've seen, some of the great leaders have sort of like stepped away to voice their beliefs in terms of where we want some of the goodness in the world to lead. And I find right now, particularly in the West, it's more about, the other lady said, okay, maybe individuality, but also following a trend. And if you say anything, you're kind of like, well, okay, you're not really seen as someone to be with. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that, Sonia Ben. What's really interesting in Amma Muniji's other book, he says that when you are part of a community, part of a bigger system, then your individuality should be respected. Your thoughts should be respected. And what that community should do is say, well, what are you good at? What's your ability? What do you bring? Let's use that. Let's utilize it. And that community is not about trying to, it's not about a cult. It's not about you following some, one thing and one thing only. The community is really your vehicle to develop, and the community should allow you to do that. And that's according to Amma Muniji, right? So we also need to think about what he means by that ocean. The ocean is allowing the water to flow in many directions, in many ways. It's not restricting things. But it's a good point as well that what we can't do is also blindly follow something because we want to be part of something bigger, and then we just find something and we follow it blindly. So that's a good point. Right. So in terms of, I think we probably started this. So in terms of applying it spiritually, anybody had any thoughts of what things we might want to reconsider, look at in our own development about when he talks about this ocean and the drop of water? So let me pick another room. We'll pick room 2, Alpa Ben, Bhanumati Ben, Dina Ben, and Jitendra Bhai. What did you come up with? Are you there?
Yeah, we're here. Sorry, Ketan. Sorry, just repeat the question again, Ketan. Sorry, apologies.
So this question, right? What's the application spiritually? Did you talk about that? What might you do from what you've heard from Amma Muniji?
I don't think we got onto that question. I think we kind of like just it was just the first question. I think we kind of like zoomed off. Okay. I think we were talking about the drop of water, and I think we realize that sometimes we forget to think that we are a drop of water, and we're not, we sometimes think we are the ocean. You know what I mean? We don't realize that we're only a drop of water. We're not the ocean.
Yeah,
and I think that's what we were discussing. Yeah.
So it's a very good point. And I guess COVID has brought that out, isn't it? We are, we think we're in control of things, but we're absolutely not in control of many, many things. But actually, as a society, as a group, we can manage things much better than as an individual. All right, last group, room 7, Chintubai, Niraben, Rasikpai. Did you come up with anything?
Yeah, so what we said was when we grow or try and learn from other people as a group, there are more chances of you growing as an individual, because people come in from, they have different perspectives. So there's you learn from some people, you teach other people. So that's the best way of growing.
Absolutely, you exactly right. So you develop yourself much more rapidly when you're part of something bigger and greater. A simple example is the access we have to Virayathan right now. I mean, there are so many classes, so many talks, so many lectures, which would not have been in access to me anyway, if it wasn't for that. So absolutely right. Okay, I'm just going to move on to a few more slides and then we'll be done for today. So I'm just going to read this bit, which I found really interesting. So now we're on middle of page 9, and he talks about nature, and he says, what do the sun and the moon personally gain by giving light to the world? What is the use of the fruit and flowers to the trees that bear them? What personal motive is there before the rivers in their ceaseless flow? All the phenomena of nature perform their function in a spirit of selfless service to the universe. If so, why should not man, the roof and crown of all creation, submerge his self-interest and work for the welfare and good of the whole of humanity? And again, I'm sure people would have done a lot of reflection during this lockdown, experienced many things, maybe seen so many birds making so much noise, or singing, if maybe noise is not the right word, singing so much. And I mean, there's a forest near our house. I go there quite regularly, and it's just incredible. You literally see that forest is all the time. All it's doing is giving. And if that's what we see all around us when we reflect, then why can't we do that? Why can't we give from whatever abilities we have, whatever strengths we have? Why does it always have to be about us taking and not giving? So I thought that was a wonderful thing and a wonderful analogy that he shared. And you can see, I love this photo because Amma Muniji would have walked thousands and thousands and thousands of miles as a monk, and he would have been to so many places, seen so much of nature, very natural things that he sees in front of him, and this is an obvious truth that he wants to share with us. So we are done for this evening, I think in good time. So what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to just put my clock on for 45 seconds. And if you can just put yourself on mute, and I just want you to do some reflection. And then if you have any feedback, you can provide that as well. But for now, just some reflection on what do you think, what was Amma Muniji saying? What are the top 2 or 3 takeaways for yourself? And what's the one thing you might consider changing in your own life? Okay, so we'll go on mute for 45 seconds. Okay, we're hopefully everyone's back. Before we finish for this evening, has anybody got any thoughts they want to share about today, about this evening?
I think his message about humanity is the highest form of religion, and that is, that is where religion starts, not in anywhere else. Is by giving and by actually looking at others as you would want to treat them, as you would want to be treated, is for the highest form of religion. That's the underlying message.
Yes, absolutely right, Rasila Ben. And this message is in our Shastras, is in our scriptures, but sometimes it's not the first thing that comes out, does it? And it's very clear from him, and you can see this is his direct experience that he's talking from. Absolutely right. Anybody else? Okay, then I'll just share my screen and we'll finish off. So Sandeep Pai will be with us next week to cover the next section, which is on harmony, on the 5th of March. I also wanted to thank Binaben Shai Nairobi for teachings of Amavani, which are happening on Wednesdays, which are absolutely wonderful. And third is Michame Dukram for any errors that are made. I just thought we'd finish with Chatari Manglam, with Manglik, sorry, and hear Gurudev's own voice. So I think it's just absolutely beautiful.
Siddhamangalam Sapu Mangalam Kirli Panato Dhammo Mangalam Chatari Logutana Yaranda Logutana Siddha Logutana Sahu Logutana Kirli Panato Dhammo Logutana Chatari Sharanam Pavajyami Arahante Sharanam Pavajyami Siddhi Sharanam Pavajyami Sahu Sharanam Pavajyami Kirli Panatam Dhammam Sharanam Pavajyami.
Thank you so much, Jai Jinendra.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jai Jinendra. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ketan Bhai, for a very insightful and interactive evening session. As always, I feel like I've come away with a lot more questions than answers. So thank you for that. I suppose you have achieved your goal of this evening. Thank you also playing for that clip by Acharya Amar Muniji. That was like a special and unexpected treat. I'm sure most of you would agree, and it was beautiful to hear that. Before we conclude this evening, I've got a couple of announcements to make. One is about the census. As we know, we are having census in UK in end of March, I think 2021. So there is a event organized tomorrow where UK community leaders and Jain spiritual leaders, among many others, will be joining in a talk. So if you can join in, it's from tomorrow 4 p.m. The other announcement I had was Pujya Sadhvi Shilapiji Maharaj has been explaining Bhagavad Gita for the past few months. It is a wonderful opportunity to understand this profound text through her eyes and mind. These sessions are held on Sundays, 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. UK time and 9:30 a.m. Kenya time. So if you'd like to join in, we will be posting the links on the WhatsApp group if you don't already have it. So as Ketan Bhai said, next week, Sandeep Bhai will be continuing with this text Amarvani. So we'll see you all next Friday. In the meantime, have a uplifting and a mindful week ahead. Good night and Jai Jinendra.
Chaitinendra.
Indra.
Well done, Bharti.
Do you all remove them?
No, I removed Justice Chandrakant Taruna.
How did people leave so quickly?
Because I was too slow to play the video.
How are you guys okay? You're looking very tired, Nilesh. Long day?
Long day again, yes.
Both of you really long days.
Yeah.
Jitendra has been busy vaccinating people.
Yeah, too many vaccines. That's all I dream about now. Just vaccinating people. I think I need a break now. Another full day tomorrow.
What time do you start in the morning?
9
Who, me? I get there at 8 o'clock in the morning. Then we brief all the volunteers and everybody. So I'm the responsible pharmacist for the day, because I have to do all the, all the other extra work, like signing in the books and all that. But yeah,
Right.
8 till 5.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it should be okay. I'll have a break.
I think Pramit is joining.
Pramit invented it. That was good. It was really good today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a really nice talk, and had a reasonable number of people, about 35 people at one point. It was okay. It wasn't too bad. But yeah.
Next week it's Sunday by, right? Continuing.
Sunday by, yeah. Sunday by next week.
And then we've got Hina Ben afterwards.
Yeah, I think so. Are you talking next week? You are, aren't you?
Yeah, I think I'm doing next week as well. Unless any one of you, do you want to do it? Do you want to host, Jit?
I would, but I think I'm just not sure about these vaccine things. I get really exhausted, so I think you do a better job. I'm going to send you the I've sent it to you now. All the whole month. Yeah. Who's talking? Who's not talking?
Hi, Pramit Bhai. How are you?
Hi. I'm sorry I couldn't make it earlier.
Are you down with still after effects of the vaccine?
No, there's a few other things going on, so I was just trying to sort them out before.
Okay.
You had the vaccine. You had the vaccine today, Pramit?
No, I had it a few days ago.
Oh, a few days ago.
We were talking about it at the meeting.
That's right. No, I wasn't paying attention. Sorry. Yeah, I kind of joined a little bit later. Yeah.
How did it go today?
It was all right. Yeah, I was just telling Bharti and everyone. Yeah, we did about 240, just under 200, about 235 vaccines today. So yeah, it's going well. If anybody wants to come, if anybody hasn't had their vaccine, we still got loads of vaccines left over. I was just telling Bharti at Grimsdyke Golf Club, but I think it's AstraZeneca only. That's what we're doing, not the Pfizer one. So if anybody,
I had the Astra one as well.
Astra one's a good one. Less side effects, I think, with that one. That's what they say, but who knows?
Yeah. Is there genuinely any do people have studies about which one is better over other? Is one better over other?
Everyone's different, right? Isn't it? Everyone has a different reaction.
Yeah.
To it.
No, in terms of the actual vaccine.
Yeah, there are clinical studies done, and they say there are fewer side effects with the AstraZeneca.
Okay.
The Pfizer one tends to give you a headache, but sometimes it's good to